What is up, Iwu crew? Today, we're covering 3 disturbing true stories of murderous best friends. These murders are arguably some of the most disturbing ones you can come across. Imagine putting your trust in a person you believe to be your best friend, all for that individual to end your life in a horrifyingly brutal way. These are exactly the type of cases we'll be diving into today, so let's get into it. Number 3. Unfortunately, for 16-year-old Anel Baez, she learned that not all best friends will be there for you through thick and thin. Sometimes, friends turn their backs on you. Some friends stab you in the back. Well, Anel's friend, Arandy Elizabeth Gutierrez, did. Literally. 65 times with a kitchen knife. These weren't casual friends. These were 16-year-old girls who had been friends for a long time. I mean, if I was comfortable enough to take naked pictures with someone, you can be sure that's my best friend. It shows how comfortable they were with one another. Sadly, everything started to go south when Anel Baez posted those inappropriate pictures on Facebook for the world to see. The two grew apart after the photo incident, never really patching things up or officially ending their friendship. Fast forward a few months later, and that's when Baez called Gutierrez and asked her to come over so they could settle the whole argument once and for all. Perhaps even let bygones be bygones. After arriving, Gutierrez excused herself to the bathroom but made a trip to the kitchen instead. She grabbed a knife, went back into the other room, and began stabbing Baez over and over. Baez succumbed to her injuries after Gutierrez stabbed her 65 times. The sad truth is that things could have been avoided if Gutierrez's threats to Baez had been taken more seriously. Days before the murder, Gutierrez wrote on Twitter, "It may seem that I am very calm, but in my head, I have killed you at least 3 times." She also threatened her that she wouldn't make it to the end of the year. I mean, she even told Baez she would bury her. If those weren't warning signs, then I don't know what those signs would look like. It was clear that Gutierrez had a plan and executed it at the most opportune second. Gutierrez tried to cover her tracks by attending Baez's funeral. If she didn't want to get caught, though, I would have changed clothes and at least wiped the victim's blood off. Unfortunately, there's no true justice for Baez. Gutierrez was going to be charged as a minor under Mexican law, but even if she is convicted, she would only serve 7 years in prison. Number 2. Michelle Aia was a 17-year-old girl that learned in a horrible way that if someone is going to stab you in the back and betray you in the worst way possible, it's most likely going to be your best friend. Michelle was best friends with Karen Severson and Laura Doyle, who had no idea that one day they would be her murderers. Michelle and Karen had been best friends since childhood, but once they reached high school, Michelle became more popular and was considered more beautiful, and that ate away at Severson day in and day out. In their junior year, Michelle started dating a boy named Randy, but they didn't have a lasting relationship because Randy liked to party a little too much. After the two broke up, Karen started dating Randy. Michelle tried to warn her against being with Randy, but Karen didn't really care what Michelle thought. The two ended up moving into an apartment together. Later, Karen told Michelle's mom, Irene, that Randy had pulled Michelle into his lap, trying to throw a wrench into Michelle's family. Once Michelle voiced her opinion that Karen should break up with Randy, she got so mad about it that she completely stopped talking to Michelle. Just like that. There was already a little foreshadowing going on for the friends, family, and police, but they ignored it. Michelle and Karen got into a fight in one of the local parks 10 days before Michelle's death. Karen threatened her with a broken beer bottle, and witnesses claimed Karen pushed and slapped Michelle. Sadly, on October 5th, 1985, they found Michelle's body, and there was no way her death was an accident. She was face down in a stream in Big Tahunga Canyon in Angeles National Forest. She had been forcibly drowned in 8 inches of water. Her waist-length hair was hacked off, and there was a 4-foot log found on top of her body, holding her down just to make sure she was staying right there. The pain and disgusting actions don't stop there. Karen acted as a crutch for Michelle's mom, Irene. She helped her through the sorrows of losing her daughter and slowly began to try and take her place in their family. Neither of the friends were suspected, and the case went cold for years. It wasn't until 1988 when a girl named Eva came forward. She was one of the teens that had taken the 45-minute drive into the mountains and told the police about everything. She explained how Karen and Laura lured Michelle to the creek. Both Karen and Laura started yelling and screaming at Michelle about how she was sleeping around with guys, including both of their boyfriends, before telling her that she had wrecked too many relationships. That's when Laura and Karen got physical and began chopping off her long hair while the others stopped her from getting away. Once done, they shoved Michelle's face down in the creek and held her there. To make sure her body would stay down in the water, both girls pulled a 4-foot tree log that weighed over 100 pounds on top of Michelle's body. Then, the girls fled and acted like they had no idea their best friend had been brutally murdered. Karen and Laura were both convicted of second-degree murder and were both sentenced to 15 years to life in jail. Both women ended up serving 22 and 23 years, 45 and a half years collectively. Disgustingly, when Karen Severson was released from prison, she wrote a book about the murders and her time in prison, then got a film deal. Michelle's family sued her in 2015 to make sure she wouldn't profit off of murdering her daughter. It's stories like these that make us question who is really on your side. Do you have friends that could turn on the drop of a dime? Or would you trust your life in the hands of your best friend? Number 1. If you're a video game fan, the name Slenderman gives you the image of a tall, gangly-looking man with pale skin and no facial features that runs around in the woods wearing a black suit and a red tie, a character that could give you nightmares for weeks. He started out as a character for the 2009 Paranormal Photoshop contest. From there, Slenderman's creepy vibe was pulled into the video game world for his own full-length game. The game involved hunting around the woods near a campground, looking for missing child's posters and different notes that must be collected to move to the next portion of the game. Through the first-person point of view, the camera shakes and becomes static-riddled whenever Slenderman gets too close for comfort. I know you might be like, awesome, and play it at the next big sleepover. But the jump scares might be too much. He makes you feel like you have to look over your shoulder to see if you can see his tall, lanky form off in the distance. But it's all just a game and nothing like that is real, right? Well, unfortunately for the town of Waukesha, Wisconsin, back in 2014, they learned that sometimes life can imitate art in the worst way possible. 2 12-year-old girls from Waukesha were convinced that Slenderman was real, not just a fictional character from the creepypasta wiki page. The 2 girls planned on becoming servants for Slenderman and wanted to live with him in a giant mansion. They said they wanted to prove their loyalty to him once and for all. But the only way to do that was by killing someone. Sadly, on May 31st, 2014, Anissa Wire and Morgan Geyser lured their best friend Peyton Leitner out into the woods for a friendly game of hide-and-seek, only for things to turn deadly. The girls were all 12 years old when this happened, and before that day, Peyton had been a positive and happy girl looking to make friends with anyone. She was the kind of girl that liked being friends with everyone, including the people no one else wanted to be friends with. When she first met Morgan Geyser, she was always sitting alone at lunch or in class, so Peyton sat with her and started a friendship. Nothing seemed strange or out of the ordinary to Peyton. Morgan just seemed like a happy girl that was lonely. And together, their friendship included sleepovers, drawing, and playing outside. It wasn't until 6th grade when Morgan became friends with Anissa. Anissa talked to her about Slenderman, and that's where it all started going downhill. Morgan would talk to Peyton about Slenderman and how she thought he was real. Peyton even told her that the whole thing scared her and that she didn't like it. She was only friends with Anissa because Morgan really liked her, and Peyton didn't want to seem like she was trying to break up any friendships. So even though the Slenderman business made her uneasy, she tried to go along with it for Morgan's sake. Anissa was always mean towards Peyton, like she was jealous of her being friends with Morgan versus having her friendship all to herself. The original attack the girls had planned was to duct tape Peyton's mouth shut, stab her in the neck, and run away. Their second plan was to attack her in a public bathroom at a park. It's horrible, I know. But the reason for that location was because the bathrooms had drains for Peyton's blood to run down. The attack they had decided on was when the three girls went out into the woods to play hide-and-seek. But Peyton had no idea that her life was on the line. When it started, Anissa pinned Peyton down and started stabbing her while Morgan cheered her on. After the attack was over, they cruelly promised to get help but ditched their friend in the woods to bleed to death. Miraculously, Peyton was able to pull herself to a trail where a nearby cyclist found her. Doctors said 2 of her wounds were to major organs and 1 missed a major artery of her heart by less than a millimeter. Anissa even had the audacity to tell Peyton to lay down after the attack because the blood would come out slower. It wasn't until 2017 and 2018 that Peyton would receive the justice she deserved. You might think this would have been an open and shut case in the courtroom, but you'd be surprised. In 2017, Anissa Wire tried to plead guilty for attempted second-degree murder, but the jury rejected it and found her not guilty by mental disease or defect. Then, following in 2018, Morgan Geyser tried to plead guilty as well, but the jury found her not guilty by mental disease or defect. She was sentenced to 40 years in a mental health facility where she would undergo treatment for her mental health issues. She was also the youngest patient ever to be treated at the Winnebago Mental Health Institute. Not only did Waukesha, Wisconsin feel the turmoil from this horrible event, but so did the rest of the internet once the story went viral. Right after it happened, the Waukesha School District blocked all of the school's computers from accessing Creepypasta's website because of the Slenderman character. The creator of Slenderman even released a statement saying, "I am deeply saddened by the tragedy in Wisconsin, and my heart goes out to the families of those affected by this terrible act." However, he wanted to make it clear that this isolated incident didn't represent himself, the Slenderman character, or the creepypasta community where the character originally came from. Waukesha Police Chief said that the stabbing should be a wake-up call for all parents, adding that the internet is full of information and wonderful sites to teach and entertain, but that it can also be full of dark and wicked things. There is truth there. The internet is full of some scary, horrible, and evil things, but in this case, it was just a drawing that took a whole new meaning for a troubled young girl. Peyton's keeping positive and moving on with her life, far from the reaches of Slenderman or anyone else. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. A playlist is going to pop up right now with more videos you'll love. See you guys next time.